True or false? If a girl has sex, she's a slut.
If a guy has sex, then he's a stud, or he pulls.
All guys like rugby.
All girls like ballet.
Blue is a boy's colour.
Pink is a girl's colour.
Boys don't cry.
Girls are always crying.
If you answered true to any of those statements, you've been had. Those are myths and stereotypes.
Myths and stereotypes box people in. It's like how guys are told they have to be strong and not show any sign of weakness. It's not true.
And girls are taught that they have to be nice, they shouldn't have opinions, and they're not as important as guys. And that is so wrong.
These stereotypes are caca.
Because there's no one way to be a man or a woman or a person of another gender.
Every person is different and individual. So as much as possible, challenge those myths and stereotypes because they're dumb.
The thing is, emotions or behaviours aren't necessarily a guy thing or a girl thing. Feeling sad or feeling aggressive are something that anyone of any gender can be.
I cried during Boys Don't Cry.
I have to leave the room when I watch basketball because I yell at the ref.
I really like getting pedicures.
I go every year with my mum to the ballet.
At the gym I go to, they've got a list on the whiteboard of the guys who've done the most press-ups that week. And the other day, underneath the name of the guy who'd done the most, I wrote, sucks.
There's a lot of information and a lot of misinformation about gender and sex.
For many years, the way we've often talked about these things has been from a male perspective.
A lot of the words that we use around sex are sexist and misogynistic.
Sexist words are basically anything that discriminate based on gender.
And misogyny is language or behaviour that puts women down or disrespects them.
Words like whore and slut promote an old school way to think about female sexuality, like it's something to be ashamed of.
So if you ever hear someone being called a slut or a man being called a stud for the same thing, it's a good opportunity to look at actually what's being said there, because when you think about it, it doesn't make any sense at all, especially from a transgender point of view. Like, where am I supposed to fit in with that? So yeah, it's a good prompt to think about where that's all coming from and why it exists in the first place.
It's really weird to see double standards amongst sexual behaviour. It's like, if you're a girl and you sleep around, that's bad. But if you're a dude, it's like, high five, high five, high five, high five. In reality, both should be able to do whatever they want as long as they're comfortable with it and feel happy about it. And people shouldn't judge them or discriminate against them.
So it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl or you're non-binary, because your sexuality is your business and it's up to you how you choose to express it.
As long as there is consent, any sexual activity is totally fine. So it's not fair to box people into stereotypes. Like, girls can be sexual and that's totally fine, and guys can not be sexual and that's totally fine.
It's really weird when you meet people who are misogynistic or who don't respect women. And I kind of always look down on those people and see them as, in the same way I see someone who's got racist views or homophobic views. It's just, why are you so backward and you just seem dumb. That's my view. When I see someone who's misogynistic, I feel sorry for them and think that person's an idiot and I'm going to stay clear of them.
Historically, women have been treated pretty badly. When a crime's being committed against a woman by a man, somehow she ends up getting the blame for it. People might ask, what was she wearing? Who was she with? Was she out of it?
Those are the wrong questions to ask.
And it happens to men too.
This is called victim blaming. Instead of looking at the actions of the abuser, we ask what the victim could have done to prevent the abuse happening.
The myth that real men don't get raped or sexually abused means many male victims struggle to come forward. This is because society sends strong messages about what it means to be a man.
If you are assaulted, sexually or physically, it is never your fault. End of sentence, full stop.
What you're wearing, what you've been drinking, or if you've consented to some other stuff are all completely irrelevant.
So there's a lot of myths and stereotypes around sex and sexual orientation, and we need to get rid of them.
For example, not all gay men love Lady Gaga.
I'm more of a Beyonce fan.
Not all straight women want to get married and have babies.
Not all straight men can't dance.
Myths and stereotypes affect all sexual orientations and gender identities.
A bisexual person doesn't stop being bisexual just because they've got a same-sex or a different-sex partner. Your sexuality is about who you're attracted to, not about who you're with now.
So I can kind of see how trans myths come about because there's not that many trans people in the world. But I think the only way that these myths are going to become undone is through a process of exposure and trans people being visible and just being out there.
I think there are some really outdated stereotypes in the gay community. I think a lot of people still have a view of who they think a gay person is or should be, but that's not the case. Anyone can be gay, and it's cool to be gay, and you don't have to be this effeminate, flamboyant man to be gay. You can be a butch, rugby-playing, beer-drinking man from the South and still enjoy the company of other men.
There's a big myth out there that gay people are more promiscuous than straight people, which is not necessarily true. And it doesn't mean that if you are gay, you need to get out there and have all the sex that there is in the entire world just because that seems like what gay people do, because it's not. There's plenty of gay people that don't have that much sex, that only have certain types of sex, that all those sorts of things. So I think that's a big myth that we should rip apart.
It can be so tempting to gossip and speculate about other people, but it can do damage and make people feel bad about themselves.
If you want to help contribute to a more positive environment, then there is stuff you can do.
Stay away from gossip. Just make a call that you're not going to spread it or listen to it.
And shut it down. Tell the person who's spreading it that they're being a bit of a dick.
So when you're in a situation where other people are gossiping, ask yourself, would I want this said about me? And if the answer's no, then tell them to stop.
You have the power to change things for the better.
You can treat yourself with respect and have respect for others.
You can always make sure to get consent.
You can talk to your partner about contraception and protection.
You can decide when you want to have sex for the first time.
If you're sexually active, you can commit to having regular STI checks.
You can decide when you want to come out and who to.
So you can be who you are.
You can discover what makes you feel good.
You can speak up. Don't be a bystander.
You can be smart about what you're watching online.
You can be a trustworthy person.
You can stand up to peer pressure.
You can challenge stereotypes and myths.
You get to choose the kind of person you want to be. You've got this.
Thanks for the real sex talk, New Zealand On Air.